Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here once again with some more epic history. World War One. Just tell me I actually get a battle. Battle of the Somme, 1916. I honestly, I don't. I've heard of the battle, but I don't know really any kind of details. I just heard of the name Battle of the Somme, but I really don't know other than that the name. Uh, so this is gonna be really cool. I'm not sure how Epic History is going to kind of like. This is a battle, the first one we actually kind of had where they actually focused on like one battle. So I'm not sure how Epic History is kind of going to move the piece on this, but I'm like super excited because the excitement of the unknown, all that good stuff. So, yeah, we're 1916. There's been a lot of push and pull with both powers here, both powers. So. It's kind of cool that like in the middle of the war, Epic History kind of gives us a battle that kind of split up, I guess, the first half and the second half of the war. So this should be super interesting. So let's get into it. Before we do, please hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Thank you very much. And I also want to say thank you. You guys leaving a lot of comments, and that's great, man. I love the feedback, and I love little mini conversations you guys might give each other. So I think that's really interesting in itself and makes me feel good. So I appreciate that, guys. And yeah, what else is there to cover? I guess we have to, before we cover anything, let's just get into it, and then we can, kind of commentate on whatever's going on. I don't know. I'm a loss for words now. So yeah, let's get to it. Battle of the Somme. This should be good.
(1916). Europe is in the grips of the most destructive conflict yet known, World War I. Much of the fiercest fighting takes place on the Western Front, where British, French and German armies are locked in a bloody stalemate along 450 miles of trenches.
So far.
There have been millions of casualties, but neither side can break the deadlock. The combination of barbed wire, machine guns and heavy artillery means troops trying to cross no man's land, the open ground between the trenches, are slaughtered en masse.
Yeah, because it's not like there's a trench, flat land, trench. I mean, there's like fences and barbed wire and like who knows what else. That's like not a straight shot, and that's pretty gruesome. Like just a bunch of dead bodies rotting because no one's gonna come drag their comrades back or anything. So there's just a bunch of rotting dead bodies. That's had to be like a terrifying sight to be in the trenches and kind of look up and see that. Plus, you're afraid to even look up. Period. You might get your head blown off because that was a big, killer back then. Because you just got the snipers on each side just waiting for someone to, stick their head up. So, it's terrifying stuff, man.
Ground between the trenches are slaughtered en masse. The advantage is always with the defender.
Exactly.
But the Allies are committed to more attacks. They're determined to liberate the parts of France and Belgium that were occupied by Germany in the first months of the war. The British and French have agreed to launch a joint offensive in the summer of 1916. But the Germans strike first. In February, they launch a massive assault on the French fortress city of Verdun. Its defense requires all available French reserves. So the summer offensive will be led by the British, their biggest attack of the war so far. Its chief aim now, to relieve pressure on the French at Verdun.
The big push.
The attack will take place along a 25-mile front near the River Somme in July. The new British commander, General Sir Douglas Haig, would prefer to attack near Ypres, where there are clearer strategic objectives. But the Somme is where the British and French armies meet, so where a
Okay.
joint offensive must take place. He would also prefer to wait until his inexperienced divisions have received more training. But the French need his help now.
Yeah, he's kind of like pushed. Like I don't know how. Honestly, don't know how this battle plays out, but the general obviously wants to have a better spot for this battle. He wants his troops aren't ready, but I guess he's got the pressure just now, and so that just in itself just kind of has like just a lot of death, disaster kind of written all over it because he doesn't have the spot he wants, and his troops are green. They're you're about to have this giant battle, and they just don't have the experience. So not starting off very good.
Training, but the French need his help now. The Somme has so far been a quiet sector, allowing the Germans to build up strong defensive positions. Here, the Germans have two formidable defensive lines, with a third under construction.
Wow.
Each consists of 3 lines of trenches: fire, support, and reserve, connected by communication trenches. They bristle with machine gun positions and are anchored on fortified villages and strongpoints. In front of the trenches, there are thick belts of barbed wire. Below are dugouts, some 10 meters deep, to shelter German troops from artillery fire. Telephone lines, buried 6 feet deep, allow troops at the front to communicate with artillery batteries during an attack.
Wow.
The German troops that hold the line are well trained, and most are combat veterans.
Opposite of the Allies. We're coming all right.
The offensive will be led by the British Fourth Army, commanded by Lieutenant General Sir Henry Rawlinson. With Haig, he draws up the plan of attack. To overcome the Germans' formidable defences, the British will carry out a massive, week-long artillery bombardment with 1,400 guns. This is expected to destroy German barbed wire, flatten trenches, and kill their occupants. 19 mines are also dug under key German strongpoints and filled with explosive, ready to detonate just before the attack begins.
Damn.
To the north, the British Third Army will make a diversionary attack at Gommecourt. The 16 British and French infantry divisions are then expected to take their objectives with minimal opposition. The attack will begin at 7:30 a.m. in broad daylight, so the artillery can observe its fire. British morale is high, and the men are confident of victory. Many of the units taking part are PALS battalions, the eager recruits of 1914,
At least they're
now
eager.
about to face combat for the first time. But on the eve of the assault, there are worrying reports that the British bombardment has been only partially successful. 1.6 million shells are fired. But due to inexperienced gun crews, a shortage of heavy guns, and faulty shells, much of the German barbed wire remains intact. German defenders, too, are largely unscathed in their deep dugouts. And from captured prisoners and listening in on uncoded telephone calls, the Germans know exactly when and where the British are coming.
I'm guessing like the British had no idea about this stuff, but could you see with the naked eye, like just the I guess the battlefield, if you got enough of the barbed wire, or I don't know. I guess you couldn't because didn't they have like planes back then that kind of like went over the battlefield to kind of like get a bird's eye view of things. I'm not sure if you can still take They probably still could have took pictures. I don't know. I don't know if that would be even possible or not. But man, it's just not looking good right now, man. 1916.
Play War Thunder, the next-gen military online action game now. All new ray tracing, realistic clouds,
pass.
lighting, and weather, as well as...
The Allied artillery bombardment reaches its peak at 7 a.m. At 7:20, the British detonate an enormous mine under a German strongpoint, the Hawthorne Redoubt, and British troops rush forward to occupy the crater. At 7:28, further mines are detonated under German strongpoints along the front. At 7:30, the Allied bombardment moves on to the German second line, as British and French infantry begin their advance across no man's land. German troops, meanwhile, race up from their dugouts.
Yeah, because like they heard what's going on already. Like it's not like the guys are just sitting there like do, or they can, the guys are they're waiting. Like they're they're right there. So
German troops, meanwhile, race up from their dugouts to set up machine guns. It's an enduring myth that all the British infantry climb out of their trenches and walk steadily towards the German line. A few units do, but most send men out into no man's land before the bombardment lifts, so the final dash toward the enemy line is as short as possible.
yeah, makes sense.
But in the northern sector, whichever tactics are used, the British are easy targets for German machine gunners, especially where they bunch up to get through the few gaps in the barbed wire. The British infantry advance bravely, but are mown down in their hundreds.
Wow.
Some units do break into the German line. Near Thiepval, the 36th Ulster Division captures the Schwaben Redoubt. But without support on either flank, it's isolated, and the survivors are forced to retreat that night.
But yeah, it's like once again, yeah, you made if just one little area makes it through okay, then the Germans from either side in that that the bunker or trench, they're gonna gang up on them as they come in, and they're just gonna get sandwiched and killed. Yeah, you have to get like a bunch of people going in. I know I probably sound like, yeah, he's an expert. Like I'm sure that obviously that wasn't their plan just to get one thing going, but it just sucks for the just the group of guys there that they're the only ones that made it through, and there's no help, man. That must have, man, been like heartbreaking for them, man. And I don't know, you just gotta feel for these guys, man, going through hell. They're already been going through hell, and damn. Sorry.
And the survivors are forced to retreat that night. On their right, the 32nd Division takes the Leipzig Redoubt, while near La Boisselle, the 34th Division captures the Lochnagar mine crater. But these are just small toeholds in the German line, far short of their objectives.
Yeah. Fog of war.
In World War I, one of the greatest challenges faced by commanders is getting accurate information about the course of the battle. Reliable field radios haven't been invented yet. Telephone lines are regularly cut by shell fire. So officers must turn to messengers, flag signals, light signals, even homing pigeons, none of which is completely reliable.
No.
To get around this problem, during an attack, supporting artillery works to a fixed timetable, moving their fire onto the next line of enemy defences at a set time. So when the infantry start their attack, gunners adjust their fire onto the second line of enemy defences. But if the infantry get held up, the supporting fire keeps moving on according to the timetable. The infantry get left behind and are at the mercy of enemy machine guns.
Wow.
Aerial observation by balloons and aircraft can provide valuable information,
Okay.
but rely on good weather and control of the skies. This is
I guess that kind of answered my question from earlier when it comes to, yeah, if bad weather and, yeah, all that stuff, so.
good weather and control of the skies. This is why, on the 1st of July, it takes British commanders hours, even days, to find out which attacks have been successful and which have failed. This makes it extremely difficult for them to react to the situation with any speed.
Gains in the south.
Further south, there is much greater success. Despite heavy losses, the 21st and 7th Divisions take Mametz and cut off the heavily defended village of Fricourt, which the Germans abandon overnight. On their right, the 18th and 30th Divisions take their objectives, including the village of Montauban, which is secure by 11 a.m. Alongside them, the veteran French 20th Corps also takes its first-day objectives, as well as 2,500 German prisoners. The Germans didn't expect the offensive to extend so far south and are less well prepared. And, crucially, the Allied bombardment is boosted by French heavy guns, which are much more effective at destroying barbed wire and German strongpoints. At 9:30 a.m., French colonial troops lead the attack south of the Somme River. The French seize all their objectives and take 3,000 more prisoners.
Nice.
Despite success in the south, the first day of the Battle of the Somme is a costly failure for the British.
I'm sorry, this is totally unrelated to this, but it's cool because, I just finished the Napoleon series, and you basically had like the British and the French, they were on opposing sides. So it's really cool to kind of have their kind of like their buddies, their friends in the same battle here. So I just think that's cool. I know that's nothing to do with this war or anything, but that's just cool though.
Battle of the Somme is a costly failure for the British. German losses for the day are estimated at 12,000 men. The French lose 7,000. But the British suffer a staggering 57,000 casualties.
Wow.
1/3 of them killed. The 1st of July, 1916,
Damn.
becomes the bloodiest day in the history of the British Army. And it's just the first day in a battle that rages for another 4 months, finally ending in November amid freezing rain and mud. By then, the Allies have advanced 10 miles at a cost of 430,000 British casualties, 200,000 French casualties, and 450,000 German.
I'm just curious, like what's the population, of the UK, just because, God, that's just gotta be like a giant chunk. I mean, I guess it'd be the same thing for the Germans like that too, man. It's a lot of people.
French casualties, and 450,000 German. It makes the Battle of the Somme one of the bloodiest in history. In British popular memory, the Somme is remembered as an unmitigated disaster and tragedy, evidence of the incompetence of British generals and the pointless sacrifice of the gallant soldiers under their command.
I also heard, I think this was in like previous videos I've watched, that some battles, like as far as like I know this because when Canadians fought in some battles, like there was supposed to be some like artillery support. I don't know if it was either the French or the British, and I know that at a point the Canadians are like, if they said they weren't going. You guys haven't supplied the bombardment, so we're not going to go until you guys you know give us that, and they refused to kind of rush until they got the backup, because they didn't want to get slaughtered. Uh, I wonder, like, as far as these generals and stuff, they have their orders, and they're supposed to get that what's it called, the bombing, like I said, like the bombing beforehand, the artillery. They're supposed to get the artillery, and they never got it. But yet, I guess they were told to go anyway. They're afraid to say no, and I guess maybe not take their, because or they were told by the way, go anyway, even though you're not getting the artillery support that you're supposed to, and that could be a cause of a lot of those casualties because they weren't getting that support that they were supposed to. I could be way off. This is just like I've seen other documentaries, and there was just a big part of that was they were rushing but not getting the support that they were supposed to get. I mean, you guys are probably gonna roast me in the comments for saying that, but anyways, on with the show. Oh, oops. What am I doing? What am I doing?
But to those who fought it and those at home, the Battle of the Somme was seen as a success. Casualties were enormous and hard to bear, but across Europe every warring nation was suffering terrible losses, as all commanders struggled to find an answer to trench warfare. And at the Somme, the British had not only helped save their French ally, who went on to defeat the Germans at Verdun, but learned vital lessons about how to fight on the Western Front.
That's good,
Most
though.
of all, the Battle of the Somme had been a costly but necessary wearing down of the German army. An immensely painful but vital step on the long road to victory.
Wow. A lot of death, man.
Maps and research.
At least, every side, everyone has their mistakes, but as long as you learn from them, it's not in vain. So, as long as you learn from your mistakes, and obviously you improve, going forward, you make the adjustments, and I guess, that no one dies in vain. But that was definitely like a cool battle. Like, just, I think this is the only one as far as, I think World War I, Battle of Somme. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any more battles in this series. But because I wish there were, I enjoyed like the visuals with the lines and like what they were trying to do, and I kind of wish there was more battles like this in here. But it's all good. This is a really good battle. I really loved it. It was definitely a switch up from the last two because you got to kind of focus on a certain group. So that was really cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Uh, yeah, it's trench warfare, man. Yeah, scary stuff. Like, and it said like you can't get. I guess like I said, you can't really get the planes going over or balloons or whatnot because all in the matter of weather. If it's fog or clouds, you're not going to get it. And then if you do get it, it's going to be like a day or two later, which doesn't help you at all because obviously the enemy's probably changed their tactics up by then. So, it had to be extremely frustrating on both sides. Just trying to get an advantage, and trying to get intel. So, yeah, another awesome battle, awesome video, and yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments below, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this battle, and what your thoughts are on, maybe what they could have done better and whatnot. Because I'm an expert. I'm no expert at no means, but I know a lot of you guys, know a lot more about this kind of stuff than I do, and with the tactics and the history. So it's always cool after these videos to kind of see, like, I guess, get your thoughts on stuff. So I always appreciate that in the comments. So thank you very much for giving me that. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. You guys are awesome. So I definitely appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys in future videos. Like and subscribe, please. And yeah, that's it, guys. On to the next one. You guys have a great night. Peace.